Hello everybody, welcome back to the Past the Box Tech Tips YouTube channel, and today I'll be showing you the best settings in Unturned performance, and let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on our settings, so we're going to go to Options, Display, and Graphics. Let's start with Options. When it comes to this game, really on Options mode that really matters is your field of view. I personally play at max, so I'm going to keep it at max, but you can test whatever you want to play with. After other two settings that don't really matter. If you want to show FPS, you can click here and it shows FPS. But the thing that really affects your performance is this show blood splatters. I highly recommend you turn this off, as you don't really need it, and it saves so much FPS if you do turn it off. Now let's go to display. In display, this just basically shows three main settings. Your first one is your display. I highly recommend you play on the highest resolution possible. Then I'm going to make sure VSync is turned off and full screen mode is on exclusive. After we're done with that, we're going to go to graphics. Here's the bread and butter about everything. We're going to walk through it slowly. So the most important thing I think in Unturned is viewing. As previously mentioned in my old video of DayZ settings, looking at people in this type of survival game is important. So the first two settings right here, I highly recommend if you can keep at max, because it's very important. Because for example, if I turn this all the way to 0, use the mountain as a reference, as you can see, I will not be able to see anyone. But if I put my max draw distance all the way to max, I can see the whole mountain. Same with the nearby draw distance. This is stuff that is nearby to you. As you can see, the draw distance will be very low and I won't be able to see a player in this red part right here where my mouse cursor is. But if I keep it to max, maybe if I have good eyes, I'll see them. But I highly recommend always turn this distance high. Of course, if your computer can't really use it, then I really recommend the 150 zone right here, but I highly recommend you keep it to max. Landmarks, well, of course, this really depends on your computer. But if you have this on low, you can have, as you can see, the landmarks on top. But I highly recommend you have this on because you can easily see. If I had this off, for example, I wouldn't know there was a ledge right there and until I loaded it in. So I highly recommend, as you can see, medium shows the trees behind it. High just adds a bit more trees. Ultra doesn't really do anything. And this is off. So I highly recommend, if your computer isn't really working that well, I highly recommend that you have it on medium as minimum. But I highly recommend either on high or on ultra. Then ragdolls, you don't really need ragdolls. This will affect your performance. So we're going to turn this off. Debris, turn it off. Ambient occlusion bloom, we're going to turn off. Film grain, we're going to turn off. Terrain transition, as you can see in the bottom of my screen, it just shows the terrain difference, but this really affects your performance and FPS, so I highly recommend you turn it off. Grass displacement off. Scope focus, foliage off. Blast marks, rain puddles off. Snow glitter off. Mapping off. And the last one is icon anti-aliasing, which just shows the icons in a better, smoother way, and it doesn't really affect performance, so I highly recommend you have this on as well. Then we're going to go down, we're going to go to these settings right here. Anti-aliasing, it really depends on your computer. If your computer is really old or really can't run this game, then I have it off. If not, I highly recommend you have it on TAA. Filtering, disabled. Effect duration on low. Grass density on low. Sun shafts don't really matter. If you have them on high and you look at the sun, it looks pretty, but I highly recommend you don't have this. Lightning quality low. Water quality low. Scope quality. This setting is very important because for some reason scope quality, if you have it on, it just removes your FPS even if you're not scoping in on the weapon. So highly recommend you have this off, as you do not need scope quality. So 100%, if your FPS seems to be low for no reason, make sure the setting is turned off, and if it's turned on, that's the reason why. So make sure that this is turned off. Outline quality, we're going to have it on low, and as well as terrain quality, we're also going to have it at low. As you can see, does not affect performance. Wind quality, this doesn't really matter. It's just, as you can see, if I go in game, it's just as a Minecraft shader. The leaves move. This is very, like, you don't really need it. so I highly recommend you just turn it off. Trees quality, we're gonna have it on basic models. And rendering mode, this really depends on your computer. As you can see, forward might run better with older graphics card, deferred allows decals and screen space reflections. So basically, if you have an old computer, old GPU, then I highly recommend keep on forward. If you don't, then do on deferred. As you can see, the shades right here is a bit different, but I highly recommend you on deferred. After you're with that, you're done. That is best settings in Unturned. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.